The Bloody Podcassacre with Zac Walters and Kennedy Catherine.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm tired.
Me too. It's been a long week.
It really has been.
A long hungover week.
Are you hungover?
Not anymore. The
Sorry.
last time I saw you.
I was looking at your levels, so yeah, that was, I forgot that we are coming off of the Scream fiasco. Hi, you guys. My most sincere and deepest apologies for deciding that I was the singular host.
I just decided to sit back.
You were taking a nap and you were playing some phone games. As I should. As you should. Just take a load off Annie. And it's a song.
Oh.
Never mind. And I was the star of the show.
You really were. And I'm okay with it, really.
Thank you. We hope you guys enjoyed. Please do let us know if you would like to hear more episodes like that, but please say no, because
Yes.
I don't think I can withstand it.
I don't have the mental capacity or the physical or any capacity to do that yet again. Maybe if we just took it down on the rules.
Yeah, we didn't have to drink quite so much.
But we did.
But we said, you know what?
For the fans.
If we don't go all the way, then we didn't go at all.
Exactly.
So, actually, what I was in my brain going to start talking about before you reminded me that that's what we did was in the episode before Scream, there had been some weird happenings in your apartment.
I already forgot about this, that you were going to tell me about this.
And I inherited some weird things. And I have video evidence that I can't. Yes. And I'm really excited to post it on Podcassacre and to show you. So, okay. The day that things had been weird in your apartment, so the Google Home thing happened, I'm sure people recall. If you don't, it was not like anything crazy, but there were just weird little things. Yeah. And then I was here the very next day. Weird things don't really happen to me. And I'm not conscious of things like that. I don't really know what this was. But I was lying on the couch later that night, quite late into the evening. My roommate had gone outside probably like an hour earlier, but she had been inside. We had been sitting there, and our front door is right there. Yeah. If there was a draft or anything, you feel it.
I've been there, yes.
I
am confirming. I am the third party here confirming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're sitting there, and I just hear the door pop open.
Like, does it seem forceful? Not like, not to the point where it felt like someone kicked it, but like that it was like a push open?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it was a very sort of distinct noise of it opening. And it took a second for me to register that that's what would have happened, because the door, to my knowledge, my roommate had come in and locked the door as she always does. And so the door was locked, and I kind of looked up and we looked at each other and we were both like, oh, that's weird. So I got up to go close the door and wasn't really looking, wasn't really paying attention. I hit the door, and it immediately bounced back at me because the deadbolt was out.
I hate that.
I just don't understand. Like, we can't make sense of it. And I had made a video about it that I posted online, and people were giving me
like reasons.
Yeah, reasons and things. And I tried everything that someone suggested, and we couldn't make sense of it.
Do you think that maybe your roommate like locked it, but it didn't fully go into the latch hole?
We tried to like reenact. Well, I did. Sorry, I tried to like reenact that, and I couldn't make it work because ours is so like it's a really what's the word I'm looking for, like
industrial almost.
Yeah. It's a really just like it's a quick lock. Like there isn't.
You don't have to like push the door like so that it locks, like that kind of thing.
It is coming out and that's it. Like it wouldn't come out halfway.
It's new also. I would like it's in working condition.
Oh, totally. And it also just wouldn't on a windy night. I just don't see it having sat there for an hour before it did something. Then again, you know what? There could be a logical explanation. Fine, whatever.
Yeah. But no, thank you.
Moved on from that. That happened. Okay, fine. This we cannot explain.
I don't know if I want to see this.
It's not that scary to look at, but it is.
It's just the concept of it?
It's the evidence that I need to just... Because it sounds not real.
No, there's sound?
No. It said it just...
Yeah, so there was a woman screeching.
No. So it was late on Friday night. And I was out at my cabin, the place that we have talked about many times that is uneasy. I will say, for everybody's sake, just so everybody knows, someone did die there. Not
recently, though. Not within the past time that you've been there.
Oh, no. I mean, like, since we've lived there, yes. But no, in the last...
This isn't a, like, new development in Kennedy's life.
No. Somebody died there about 10 years ago. Yeah. So, sometimes little things have happened here or there, but nothing big. And this whole lock thing was in the back of my mind, but I wasn't thinking a ton about it. Mm-hmm. I was lying in bed... all of a sudden, had to pee. By the way, I had been there all night. Like, I got there at probably 5:30 or 6. Like, it was several hours later. Get up, go to the bathroom. As I'm walking back from the bathroom, a super bright light comes from behind me.
Like, in the cabin?
Yes. And I'm like, what the fuck? But it took me a second because I was half asleep. And there's a big window that looks out onto our driveway, and there is a motion sensor light there. So sometimes animals or whatever. I didn't think too much about it until I kind of came to a little bit more, and I was like, that is way too bright. And I turn around. I'll show you the video. Did you see it?
Yeah, like the light?
Yeah, that's my car's headlights.
What?
I don't know. They turned off. They turned on when I was walking back from the bathroom. And then they turned off. I can't explain it. I have no idea.
It's not... the only thing I could think of is, like, maybe for some reason you stepped on your keys.
I didn't. Right? I'm telling you guys, my keys were in a bedroom that no one was even in. Because I always keep my things in one bedroom and then I sleep in a different bedroom.
The more... I'm always like, oh, like, I really want to go to Kenny's cabin. I don't want to come anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And it's weird. So the next morning, because my parents' bedroom kind of looks on there, I told my mom, because I wondered if they saw anything, and they didn't. But I showed her the video, and we were both like, yeah, I have no idea. The one thing I will say is that I had 2 kind of strange experiences with lights out there recently. Mm-hmm. I just can't tell if, like, is this all part of something bigger? Is the door lock a part of it? Or is it just nothing? Is this all just very strange coincidences happening at the same time?
It's probably strange coincidences, but now that we have talked about it, it's coming back to me, unfortunately.
Yes, I'm hitting it back to you. You can take it now.
I don't want it because of it. The thing that's, like, freaky with me is the cat. Mm-hmm. And he reacts, and I'm like, normally if I just hear it, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But if he hears it, I'm like,
we're going to die today.
Yeah. Can't wait. I will keep you updated what happens tonight. I'm tearing up a little bit. I'm a little scared.
I'll post this. I'll post a video on Podcassacre on our reels or something for you guys to take a look at the day that this episode drops, because it just doesn't make any sense.
That's so bizarre.
I'm glad I thought to take a video too, just because it's so weird. How does that happen?
And it's not like, because if it was on all the time, like the whole time, it probably would have died by then.
Yes.
Well, maybe.
But it
depends.
Turned on.
Right, because
I had to walk there and walk back. It wasn't on when I was walking there. If by chance it happened to come on while I was in the bathroom, either way, it was still several hours after I had gotten there, parked my vehicle, locked it, hadn't touched the keys.
And also you would have noticed if it was on while the sun was setting.
Or any time in the night when I was sitting right in front of that window for like 3 hours watching The Serpent on Netflix.
I have yet to start it.
Oh, it's so good.
I've heard.
But anyways, those are some of my weird, strange happenings that are very aligned with our movie today.
Which is?
The Conjuring.
What a great movie.
So good. God damn it, I'm so happy I rewatched it.
Me too. And I don't think I've rewatched it probably for a good 5+ years.
When it first came out, I loved it. I know I've talked about how much I love this movie. And I watched it a ton.
Me too.
And so I kind of had it in my head that I didn't need to rewatch it or that it wasn't going to be good. It holds up.
The thing that I really enjoyed about watching it this time, it moves the story along perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, like, dry spots where I was like, let's get going.
Right.
You know? Like, the sound added to it and the acting was so good. This is really, like, a well-rounded horror movie.
Yes. There was a review, and I forgot to write where it came from. I'm so sorry. But it put it so well. With its minimal use of digital effects, its strong sympathetic performances, and ace design work, this movie harks back in themes and methods to The Exorcist and the Amityville Horror, not quite attaining the poignancy? Oh, Jesus. And the depth of the former, but far exceeding the latter in sheer cinematic beauty. That, for me, really nailed it, because it is, it's just so good.
I know. And I don't want to be like, this is the blueprint, but I think this is like a defining like turn in horror. Well, I mean, it was the early 2010s. It came out in 2013. Since then, like, there have been few movies that have made me feel... Because I was scared. When I watched this the first time, I was absolutely terrified. Because also, going into it, it was such a roller coaster of all these reviews, and I knew about Ed Lorraine Warren, like... But I, like, had this, like, idea in my mind of who they were and what they did, and I knew there are other cases that were big in the media. And so going into it, I was like... I'm going to be weak in this movie and be possessed by the end of it.
I'm going to have to go to a church after this. I'm going to have to get blessed.
I'm going to have to become religious.
Yeah, something that I really felt the first time I saw this movie was like, it's an incredible horror movie, but it's also just a really good movie. Cinematography is great. The acting is really great. The characters are super developed. The whole thing is so good. And when I was watching it, it was the first time that my roommate had seen it, and she said the same thing. Yeah, she turned to me halfway through and she was like, this is actually just a very good movie.
Mm-hmm. I think that the most standout acting in this movie was the mother.
She's so good. Lily Taylor.
Yeah.
She's very good.
Specifically when, like, towards the end of the movie, I don't have words. I was just like, wow.
She's so sort of subtle and underrated in a lot of ways that I don't know that her performance is something that's picked up as like such a key element when we have big players like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
Even like Ron Livingston, her husband. But she is so good. Also, that woman is notoriously wonderful in the horror genre. She's in a lot of really great movies. Yeah, she killed it. Good timing for us because the Devil Made Me Do It trailer just dropped.
Yes. You just watched it. I know yesterday.
Yeah.
It looks a little tacky at some points.
It does.
Did you like the second Conjuring?
I really did, and I know a lot of people didn't. I really liked it.
I think I need to rewatch it because I only saw it once, and I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah.
I was underwhelmed by it. But then going through, like, I was just, like, trying to see, like, what people listed it, all of the 8 Conjuring universe movies as. And everyone, like, The Conjuring 2 is their, like, top above The Conjuring.
Really?
I really need to go revisit it because I really don't remember a lot other than... some of the key moments in the trailer, like there's the crosses that all turn upside down in the bedroom, or the nun based, because that's like the nun.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I forgot that was even like an element in that movie.
Because that's more like I would say like the top tier of like the scary.
Yeah, the nun is to Conjuring 2 what Annabelle is to Conjuring 1. It's like this side kind of plot that's happening more for the Warrens than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Because I had even forgot that Annabelle was in The Conjuring.
I didn't. I remembered. Yeah, the first Annabelle, it starts with that opening scene.
Oh, right, it does. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I don't really remember the Annabelle movies other than the second one where they were out in that farm.
I hated it.
I didn't mind it.
Aunt Zelda.
Is she in it?
Yeah, she's
like
the woman in bed.
Original Aunt Zelda?
No.
New Aunt Zelda.
Miranda Otto from the new one.
Yeah, I do not remember that. But probably because I didn't know who she was at the time.
I know I saw that in theaters, and I don't think I ever watched it again after that. I didn't enjoy it very much.
What is your least favorite movie in the Conjuring universe?
That one, I think. Oh, was The Nun part of The Conjuring?
Yes.
Then The Nun.
The Nun.
I fucking hated that movie.
That movie is goddamn awful.
It's so disappointing that Taisha Farmiga is in that.
That movie, I was really like, okay, they've gone too far with these films. So that's why I'm kind of worried about The Conjuring. Because James Wan's not directing it.
I think that's what the difference is. I hate to say that I wasn't super stoked on the trailer, but I wasn't, because it looks good, but it does look a little corny, you know?
It also looks a little action-y. Does that make sense?
Yes, okay, so the exact part that I'm thinking of is there's this part in the trailer, Lorraine or Vera Farmiga is standing at the edge of a cliff.
Right, yeah.
That's the moment where I was exactly like, I'm going to lower my expectations for this movie.
And I was like, and for what? Like, why add that in there? Like, I highly doubt that they were on a cliff together. Like, you know, like, I know it's not verbatim of their whole lives. They have to fabricate some sort of, to create a movie.
But do they? Because that story, that's a real story. That was a real criminal case that factored in demonic possession. That, regardless, is fascinating. Like, I don't think you have to add in a whole bunch of hokey pokey shit.
And, like, the part where she's in the forest and the camera pans around her and it's, like, getting dark. And then she's, like, doing, like, this superhero stance on the ground. I was like, what the hell is happening?
I know, but she looks amazing.
Two things that I loved in that trailer. Patrick Wilson, who's playing Ed Warren, is talking about how in the criminal justice system, you don't have to. You can either do an oath, but you swear on the Bible and to God that you're telling the truth. And then he mentions, if you're swearing on the Bible and acknowledging that God exists, you have to acknowledge that the devil exists. And I was like, that's a great point. Like,
that is.
And so I don't believe that it is, but then to be like, you have to swear on God.
It's a dichotomy. Like, it's ironic.
So I was like, that is very interesting. Like, just to take like a look at that and be like,
I did not swear on the Bible when I was in court.
You took an oath?
I swore on the Queen.
I wonder if that's just the other provinces. Because I know here it's on the Bible or you have to swear an oath.
Oh, interesting. I wasn't here.
Because fun fact, I'm a commissioner of oaths.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need me to commission anything, hit me up. I will commission stuff for you.
I'll commission any oath any fucking day.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say the other part of the trailer that was terrifying was that waterbed scene. Oh.
I was unprepared.
But only the first part. Because the part with the face that like swims under, I was like, no thank you. And then it peeked out, like it popped its arm out and I was like, and we're out.
Yeah. That is the one part of The Conjuring that I was like, oh, didn't age well. Lorraine comes down onto the dock and she looks over into the water and like her daughters.
See, I didn't mind that part. The part that I thought didn't age well was when the mom, why can't I remember her name in the...
Carolyn Perrin.
When she's laying in bed and the like possession comes over her and then throws up in her mouth. I was like, oh, that didn't do the greatest.
I think I felt that way always though. Because
I never thought that was top notch.
No, and I think it's the same thing that we always talk about where if we had seen a figure sort of come over her, but we never got to see it, terrifying.
Yeah, because you make it up, of course.
Even the thing on top of the armoire, like is that supposed to be Bathsheba?
I think so.
Okay. Even that part, the first time I saw it, scared the absolute shit out of me, but it was just the jump scare factor more than anything. As a figure, doesn't really do it for me.
I know. It was kind of laughable at this point, but still when it jumps down, I was like, no thanks.
No fucking thank you. Oh no, I have so many things.
I do have 2 points of horror news that are interesting.
Okay.
The third one was the Conjuring trailer, so you took that and we ran with it, but that's okay because it was,
natural.
Yes. So, American Horror Story news, Paris Jackson was cast. Who is the daughter of Michael Jackson, just for one episode.
I have complicated feelings about her.
Do you?
I do.
I've listened to her album she released last year, and it's actually very good.
Yeah, I think she's very talented.
But I'm very interested to see...
her acting.
Yeah, and what they're going to do with her is, like, I think she'll be, like, obviously, like, a flashback character. Because if you're just coming in for one episode, you're going to be there to be...
You're the flashing back or you're going to get killed immediately.
Yeah. But then Angelica Ross, who... You haven't watched 1984, have you?
No.
She's one of the main characters in it. She came from Pose. And so she said it's going to be a bloodbath and doesn't know if she's going to be able to watch after. So I'm very excited.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I do not trust Ryan Murphy. Like I trust him in terms of creative vision. I think he's very, very smart. When I go into watching his shows, I put any sort of expectation aside. Like I know I might want to throw up. Ratched.
I watched the first 2 episodes and I didn't continue. I was bored.
There is a scene, there's an episode where there is this psychiatrist who's working with a patient and he has... I can't remember exactly how it all happens, but they both end up super, super high on opiates, I think. And they just, like, cut each other's limbs off, or the one guy cuts all of his limbs off. And it is, at one point, he's, like, shaking his arms in the air, like his disembodied arms. And it goes on for so long.
Like, they're still attached?
No. Like, he cut the one guy's arms off. And was like...
Oh, sorry. I thought you said he was... shaking his own arms, and I was like, how? He can't hold them.
The weird thing is like that is what I'm envisioning, and I can't like make sense of that. And I was like, oh, does he have 4 arms?
Yeah, he has 2 other arms that he's shaking his arms he just cut off with. How do you can only cut off one arm.
Maybe he only cut off one arm.
Because how would you cut off the other one?
Well, because there's two guys there.
Okay.
So I'm just like, how did this all work out?
Or did he cut off somebody else's arms and he was waving those arms around?
That's what I can't recall. It doesn't matter. Either way, someone's arms were somewhere. People lost their limbs. It was so bloody. I almost had to leave the room. I thought I was going to. So yeah, I trust that if someone's like, I don't think I could watch it. But yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Specifically being in it too. Like,
yeah.
Ooh. But I love Angelica Ross. She's a great actress.
Okay.
Lionsgate is in the process of developing a TV series off of American Psycho, which I'm like, let's not.
Can we not?
I do not care for American Psycho.
Me neither.
But they're also toying with the idea of doing a TV series off of Saw.
Oh.
Which would be interesting. Have you seen Saw?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time.
I never remember.
I thought they just made a movie, another installment.
Well, it's like a
standalone, but based on, right?
It's coming out 2-3 weeks from now. I think they just dropped a second trailer.
Huh. Cool. I think a Saw series could be interesting. Mm-hmm. But then, well, I guess you could adapt it for like Amazon or Prime or a streaming service so it isn't under any sort of parameters, because like Hannibal the series was fine, but it was network television.
Right.
So they're operating under some standard.
Well, even if like Shudder picked it up, but that's, I don't know. I feel like the rights for Saw are probably so much.
Oh, probably.
But I would watch it. Did you ever watch like the Purge TV series?
No, I didn't even know they made one.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I think there's 2 seasons. First season was good, and then I forgot to pick it up.
This is a total offshoot, but I was just thinking about this idea of film series where at some point you're like, okay, are you just doing this to make money? Like, what is exactly the intention at this point?
Well, that's every film series, though.
Totally.
When you think about it.
But I'm wondering what Lorraine Warren's involvement would have been in the Devil Made Me Do It, because she would have still been alive when they conceived of all of that.
I'm sure we'll get into it, but do you know that this movie, like the first one, took 20 years to develop?
I do.
That's insane.
I know, and it all got started because of a tape that somebody played the tape for the screenwriter of Ed at some sort of exorcism or something like that. And so I think Ed and Lorraine had knowledge of it the whole time. I just think it took forever for a studio to pick it up.
But they did a good job. Sure. They knocked it out of the park.
Sure did.
Should we get into the little synopsis?
We shall. In 1971, Roger and Carolyn Perrin moved into a farmhouse in Rhode Island with their 5 daughters. While playing a game of hide and clap on the first night, the girls accidentally stumble upon a boarded-up entrance to the cellar. Odd things occur within the first few nights. All of the clocks stop at exactly 3:07 a.m. Birds fly into the windows, and the family dog is found dead in the backyard. One night, one of the daughters encounters a malevolent spirit only she can see, and she relays its message. It wants her family dead. Another night, Carolyn hears clapping in the hallway. When she goes to investigate, she becomes trapped in the basement. At the same moment, 2 of the girls are attacked in their bedroom by a spirit. Carolyn decides to contact demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens agree to take the case. They agree the house may require an exorcism, but need authorization from the Catholic Church and further evidence before they can proceed. Ed and Lorraine discover that the house once belonged to an accused witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who sacrificed her week-old child to the devil and killed herself in 1863 at 3:07 in the morning after cursing all who would take her land. They find reports of numerous murders and suicides in houses that were built on the property. To gather evidence, Ed and Lorraine place cameras and bells around the house with the help of their assistants. One morning, Bathsheba appears in Carolyn's room and vomits black bile into her mouth, causing her to become possessed. That night, the group sees one daughter sleepwalking, and from the EVPs coming from the radio, they hear a spirit luring her into the wardrobe, where she reveals a secret passage inside. Lorraine enters the passage and falls through the floorboards to the cellar, where she sees the spirit of a woman who Bathsheba had long ago possessed and used to kill her child. The Perrin family decide to go to a motel while Ed and Lorraine take their evidence to their liaison at the Catholic Church. He explains to them that the approval to perform the exorcism would have to come directly from the Vatican, but insists he can push it through himself so that they can get approval as soon as possible. That night, Carolyn, now possessed, takes 2 of her daughters back to the house. Ed and Lorraine find Carolyn in the cellar trying to stab her daughter, with Roger and one of their assistants struggling to hold her back. After tying Carolyn to a chair, Ed decides that an exorcism needs to be performed on her immediately and decides to perform the exorcism himself. Though Carolyn escapes and attempts to kill her daughter, Lorraine is able to distract her by reminding her of a special memory she shared with her family, allowing Ed to complete the exorcism, saving them from the curse. Returning home, Lorraine tells Ed that they had been left a message stating that they'd gained approval from the Vatican to perform the exorcism. They also have another case to investigate on Long Island. Before leaving, Ed adds a music box from the parents' house to a collection of items he and Lorraine have saved from past cases. It opens and begins to play.
The Conjuring.
So good.
Sorry, I just went on a quick little Google deep dive of, and by quick I mean just opened a couple articles about exorcisms within the Vatican and how many are actually, like, approved. Mm-hmm. But in 2018, the Vatican opened a course for 250 priests to learn exorcisms. Wild. So 250 priests from 50 countries arrived in Rome to learn how to identify demonic possession, to hear personal accounts from other priests, and to find out more about rituals behind expelling demons. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Vatican is like, let's gear up for this demonic war.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the incentive was.
Right? Like,
or maybe that's something they do regularly. I mean,
the event costed €300, which is about 600 Canadian.
I would fucking do that.
So would I.
I think you have to be a priest. I think Ed Warren was the only non-priest ever approved by the Vatican to perform exorcisms.
It says here that the demand was because last year Pope Francis, so this was in 2017,
Papa Francisco,
told priests that they must not hesitate to refer parishioners to exorcists if they suffer from, quote, genuine spiritual disturbances.
Man, I just do not know how I feel about that.
Oh my gosh. 500,000 people reportedly tried to seek exorcisms every year in Italy. 500,000 people?
That's so many.
500,000 people were like...
How many people live in Italy?
That many.
No. Can we take that money and put it towards mental health resources?
Yeah, I think also just make the course free.
Yeah.
The Vatican does not need more money.
Right?
Jeez.
There was an exorcist in Saskatoon for a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah, he performed a couple here. There was one, I think, as recently as like 2015.
Oh my God. Have I ever told you this story?
I don't know. You just said this story. I'm supposed to know?
But it's related to an exorcist.
Oh my God,
mom.
I don't think so.
Okay, so...
Ugh, we love a tale.
So when I first moved to the city, I lived at a residence for students. And it was a Ukrainian residence. Okay? But my mom used to come to this building in the summer for, like, Ukrainian-related camps when she was growing up.
Okay.
When she was here... The girl who, like, was in the room across from her, one day, like, she would, like, just went missing. Another one of her friends was, like, the priest came and took her out because apparently she was violently ill for, like, a whole week and, like, doing very weird things. And so my mom was like, I'm pretty sure the priest took her to do an exorcism. And so I was like, great, now I have to live here for a year, Mom.
And there's no follow-up? We don't know what happened?
I don't know what happened. But what's also very interesting is that I don't know why this is still a thing. So in the main area, there was like a chapel, but it was closed off because not everybody who lived there was Ukrainian or practicing. And so it was closed off and they only used it for like very, very rare special events. I only saw it opened once. It was very weird looking.
Was it small? Like, it was just like a small kind of room?
Yes. It, like, had accordion doors blocking it.
Yeah.
And it felt like, this is going to sound so strange, but it felt like this, like, weird circus Disneyland piece.
That's sort of similar to what the chapel in our high school was like.
But the weird rule was that Ukrainian Catholic women were not allowed to go and step foot in it.
Why?
So I was allowed to go in it.
What?
It was so bizarre.
That's got to be something within the Ukrainian Catholic Church.
Yeah, but so... The director of the place was allowed to go in it because she wasn't Ukrainian Catholic. But my one friend, like, Ukrainian Catholic, was like, I'm not stepping foot in it. Like, that's... And I was just like, this is so bizarre.
I want to know why.
And also, oddly enough, it was right beside my bedroom.
Oh, that's uncomfortable.
I know. And but
on the other side of the wall?
Yeah.
I hate
like,
that.
so where my bed was,
Yeah.
on the other side of the wall was the chapel.
I just am not a big fan of that.
I know.
No. I have such a hard time wrapping my head around most of that stuff because I think 9 times out of 10, or if not 10 times out of 10, it's mental health issues. But then you get these weird accounts of people who become, like, violently physically ill.
Yes.
And they
or
start acting really bizarrely at the same time. Like, is that psychosis? What is that?
The thing that freaks me out is when people can pick up, like, they start picking up...
Languages.
Yes. What, did you hear the way I said pick?
And
it was like a whistle. Yeah.
I did it. But
it happened twice and I couldn't stop it. But yeah, when people start speaking fluent languages, like...
I don't understand.
But, like, did you ever read the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren when they were in Japan?
No.
She got to Japan, and this is, like, when Ed was falling very ill. When they went there, they had nobody to help translate to Japanese from American English. And she got there and, like, was just able to speak Japanese.
Lorraine was?
Yeah. Being in contact with, like, having that spirit connection.
Yeah. Being
able to speak Japanese.
Because Lorraine Warren was clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man, I don't know. That's the thing, is I struggle with all of that. So I want to talk about the Warrens for a second. I also have, things I want to talk about in terms of the actual story of The Conjuring. Mm-hmm. A lot of people cast doubt on Ed and Lorraine Warren. Say that they didn't have any of these abilities. Like, none of this stuff was real. I understand why people think that. But at the same time, they didn't gain a whole lot within their lifetime.
No.
So... they met in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Their tie to the spiritual realm, I guess, was that Ed claimed to have lived in a haunted house from ages 5 to 12. They met when Lorraine, who was clairvoyant, they met when she was 16. And she said that 2 hours after meeting him, she had a premonition of him when he was elderly. And she knew then that she would marry him.
Which, like, wow, so sweet.
So sweet.
Like, I want that.
I know. They got married when he was on leave. He was home during World War II. After he got back from the war, he took art classes. Then he began to sell his paintings on roadsides. But he also had this interest with the paranormal, and then Lorraine had these abilities. So they kind of merged those two things. And they would go, if they would hear about a home that was haunted in the area, they would go. And they would set up outside, and Ed would paint it. And then they would give the painting to the homeowners, which would usually prompt them to give Ed and Lorraine a tour, because they wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And so... that's kind of how they got their start. And then they founded the Psychic Research Society in 1952. And that's kind of where the basis of their work was done. But they never profited off of or charged people for any of these investigations. The only way that Ed and Lorraine made money was off of books, film rights, lectures, and tours of their home, which was tours of the museum, right, where they held all these artifacts, which happened to be a part of their home. And it was a very modest museum. It's not like they were charging a ton. Most of the money that they made after Ed had already died. Yeah. So I don't think that there's a lot of, I mean, maybe they had like some sense of local notoriety. Maybe they were getting something from somewhere that it would be a good incentive to capitalize on superstitious people. But I just don't see it that way.
How did they make a living? Like, how did they afford bills? How did they afford groceries? How did they afford...
tours, lectures, all of those things.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And they did, I think, do some stints in television to some capacity, because I remember when I was a kid, maybe it was like Zach Bagans' show. Pretty sure Lorraine was on it a number of times. I think she did television appearances here and there.
Well, I do remember watching old appearances of them together, like, after this movie came out, and I, was like, oh, I kind of want to watch more of, like, what they thought of the movie. But then I got into, like, them doing old television appearances. Mm-hmm. And I remember trying to... because they have a book called, I think, just Demonologist, or, like, Ed wrote. And I wanted to read it, but I never got around to it. I'm in the boat of mostly believing them. But the other part of me is like, do I?
I kind of view it as like this fantasy that I don't necessarily have to believe in or not. It's so up to personal interpretation and personal opinion. I am of the belief that it's really naive to think that the world is not operating in a way where there are things happening that you cannot see. Like, I really do think it's crazy to think that there's not energies or like things happening that you're not conscious of. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what I believe in terms of demons or devil or anything like that, because Ed and Lorraine were very religious, and most of their work was founded in Christianity in some way. Like, she talks a lot about how the absence of God is the presentation of the devil, or a godless place is the worst place, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I have a hard time with all of that.
Right.
It's hard to fully invest myself into everything that they stand for, but I also don't think that it was an entirely fabricated thing that they were doing. Mm-hmm. And even if it was, sorry to go on a tangent.
No, that's fine. Pop off, wig.
It kind of reminds me of my people in my life who are very benign, kind, wonderful, religious people, where they have this thing that helps them sleep at night because it gives them some sense of purpose, or, a reason for living, or a reason for why bad things happen, or whatever it might be. If Ed and Lorraine truly believed that they were doing the right thing, even if it was misguided or it wasn't real, and they helped people along the way because they did, those are two groups of people who are choosing to take comfort and solace in each other to make their lives better.
Yeah.
They did that.
Numerous times.
Yeah, so what difference does it make?
It really doesn't.
And that's a fact.
What's interesting to me is the fact that, like, so The Conjuring was their first big motion picture in which Ed and Lorraine were characters portrayed on film. But we had things like the Amityville Haunting where Ed and Lorraine weren't the main people who were, like, the solvers.
No.
But they did stop by.
Yes. And I think that is what a lot of criticism is, because the Enfield Poltergeist is the same thing. So the Enfield Poltergeist is The Conjuring 2. Same thing. Ed and Lorraine were there for maybe a day. And that was a case that went on for forever. And there was like a ton of people from Psychical Research Society and investigators and researchers that were a bit bigger part of it. That is where a lot of the sort of bad feeling comes, is because they became the star of the show of stories that were not really their stories.
What other ones did they have that were popular? Well, I always see the one about the Wolfman, but I've never looked into it.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, I would just basically, I know of the Enfield Poltergeist, Amityville, the Perrons, and The Devil Made Me Do It.
Oh, there was one about the Smurl family, Smurl.
Where Lorraine, like, saw the devil.
I don't know, but it does say the demon was extremely violent towards the family and even threw their dog at the wall.
Jesus.
Some, like, sexual assault stuff that happened within this story. But then it also says it's too deeply disturbing of a storyline for Warner Brothers to adapt, which...
But they even say that about The Conjuring. Like, all of the Perron family has said that you could never put on film what happened to us. And there's plenty of things that didn't make the cut because they never could. I would love to know what that is.
Well, did you know, what is the daughter's name? I have to
Andrea.
Yeah,
she wrote the book.
She wrote 3 books.
Yeah.
I did not know that there was, like, a written kind of story before this. I thought it was maybe just, like, by word of mouth through them all. But yeah, I did not know that it was, like, a trilogy of novels. And now I'm, like, very intrigued.
So am I. I would like to read them. But something that I, like, firmly remember from when this movie came out that I no longer can find the information for is I am certain that one of the sisters has always vehemently said that the books that were written are untrue and that she takes big issue with how the Warrens presented that case.
Interesting. I've seen a lot of, like, mostly a lot of the people who... It's the people who live in the house right now. At the time of, like, in 2013, that were very annoyed.
Yeah, the people who live there now are like, oh, shit is happening. But also, those people... It gets confusing because it's like the people who lived there when the movie came out said absolutely nothing has ever happened. We've lived here for 20 years.
Yes.
And then they sued. Yeah, okay, so the couple who lived there when it came out claimed they have never experienced any supernatural occurrences, and they sued the studio for damages caused by trespassing fans. However, the home's current owners, who moved in 2019, say that from the start they experienced paranormal activity. Faraway footsteps, slamming doors, voices, all of that. The one thing that I would have to say about that is very suspicious is that they have tried to open it to the public.
Where I see this issue of the actual house
Yeah.
is realistically, the exorcism happened, it is gone. It attached itself to this family, the Perron family. And so I don't think that person's going to... that entity is going to come back in 2019 and all of a sudden be like, let's start this shit up again.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what the validity of the whole, like, there was many suicides and deaths on the property.
Right.
I don't know how true that is or not, that part of the movie. So if Bathsheba, the one main entity, gets exorcised out of Carolyn as an individual, maybe it still lingers, or some of the other spirits linger in some way. But like you said, they're not gonna just like not show up for 20 years and then when someone new moves in, they're like, by the way, we're back, baby.
Right? Like there's just so many plot holes in that story where I'm like, you can't. Show me.
Yeah, show me. And yeah, you can't be like, hey, so all this shit is happening. Why don't you guys come make a documentary? We're going to give tours of the estate for money. It's like, yeah, you're already just making it.
Yeah, there's the money
yes.
like scheme. Mm-hmm. Like the Warrens didn't do that. Like they didn't have a camera crew following them around.
No.
So they did 5 individual trespassers who they were suing and 500 interlopers, references John and Jane Doe.
Did they win?
I don't know. I didn't actually look if they want. I mean, I would assume they would.
It's fucking Blair Witch all over again. Whole town sues.
People who go to these places, I'm like, that's not the purpose of these movies. You don't go to filming locations. You don't go to real people's houses to try to get something good for yourself. Obviously, to post on social media, because that's
what they're doing.
Yeah, and to leave people alone. Don't go trespassing and go to people's houses to expect something phenomenal to happen to you, like some weird phenomenon to happen to you. Like,
no, these people don't owe you anything.
No, and it's not like it's the same people.
No, and the shit thing is like, so these people who have lived there for 20 years, this is their fucking home.
Yeah.
All of a sudden this thing happens that they have no control over. I would sue too, honestly.
Yeah, I would as well. I wonder if they moved out because
I would be surprised.
What, 9 years later? No, it wasn't.
Conjuring came out 2013.
2013, and they moved out 2019.
So, but 6 years later, who's to say that didn't go on for 6 years and that it wasn't like impossible to sell the house? Especially
when you have 8 other Conjuring related movies that come out in which people will go revisit The Conjuring and be like, wow, that's close actually in my area.
Yeah.
Let's take a weekend road trip to go see this house.
I bet that happens a lot in that area because that's like Ed and Lorraine were very concentrated in that one area. So interesting. Do you want to hear a little bit about the real life happenings of that house though?
Yeah, I didn't do much research other than I did watch an interview with Andrea regarding like the actual movie versus the thing that happened, and she said that Lorraine, I can't remember which sister was with her in the theater when they went for a private screening, but apparently like they all had a tissue box and were just crying because of like how like realistic it was. And not even like the fact that it was scary, but just like having to like
relive that
trauma of like watching your family go through all that stuff. And I tried to find it in my research, but I do remember an interview. Maybe we're having these weird made up memories of The Conjuring. But I do remember saying that Lorraine Warren said it was like so incredibly accurate, the movie.
She did.
Okay, I could not find it anywhere.
She was a huge consultant on that movie.
She apparently was on the phone constantly with the writers, which good.
And Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga went and stayed with her for 3 days.
I was reading like that interview. Well, it was an interview between Vera and Lorraine. She died 2 years
2019.
ago. But in this interview between the two of them, Vera was talking about how when they came up, this was like after the movie had come out and they were just doing press release kind of stuff. When Patrick and Vera came up to stay with her, they had this weird incident happen where they saw this truck on the road. Apparently, like, that was a thing that happened to, like, Lorraine a bunch, but she never mentioned it to Lorraine. And Lorraine was like, you never told me about, like, why wouldn't you tell me about this? And it was like this, like, weird, interesting thing of, like, they had this weird...
Wait, what do you mean? Like, they saw a truck that wasn't there?
Patrick got, like, weird scars on his hand. Like, it was, like, an accident almost, or, like, they hit... Maybe I should find it. It was...
Yeah.
Anyways, let's learn more about the discrepancies while I look this up.
Okay. So, Roger and Carolyn Perrin, they bought the Old Arnold Estate in Rhode Island. It was a 200-acre property that was originally built in 1736. According to Andrea, the oldest daughter, the family noticed something was weird the moment they got there. The seller, who did not disclose any of the location's sordid history of rape, murder, and suicide, left the family with one warning when he dropped off the keys: leave the lights on at night. Amid a snowstorm, they were welcomed to the house. It creaked, it slammed, and it whispered at night. Andrea was the only girl to have her own room. However, on night one, Andrea's sisters would come to her crying because they were so scared. 8-year-old Cindy sobbed to her that she heard a repeated whisper in her room saying again and again, "There are 7 dead soldiers in the walls."
No, thank you.
My children would all be going up for adoption. I simply would not. No.
Also 7. Very specific.
And like an 8-year-old can't... An 8-year-old's not going to come up with that.
No, especially without... There was no media like what we have today where a child's imagination could be like that. Also, that immediately made me think of The Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh my God, I love that movie. According to the family, the house was filled with spirits. One of them kept everybody awake at night crying "Mama" over and over again. The other was a friend of the girls. They called him Manny. But the one biggest discrepancy is that the family lived in that house for a decade. And the Warrens came many times. And they performed a seance on Carolyn one time. Apparently, it caused her to speak in tongues and levitate. But they couldn't move out until they sold the house in 1980. like I said before, every person in the family put their support behind the movie. Though like I said, I have this weird memory where I think one of the sisters, mostly, I don't know if it's about the movie, but I think she has said that there are things in the book that are not entirely accurate. But according to Andrea, the movie was actually very, very toned down in comparison to what actually happened, but they all loved it. But the account, it's hard to find like really thorough accounts of what happened because obviously it's a book, so people are not going to be writing out thorough accounts online. So if you want to know more, she's got books.
So this is what... So Vera Farmiga was talking about how they spent the 3 days together. Patrick and her visited Lorraine's house in Connecticut, and they all met up at a mall because it was close in the area. And then they went back with Lorraine. They followed her. But Vera was just reading the part of the demonologist in the book where there was a case where there was a truck. She couldn't remember which one it was or the detail, but the truck, Ed and Lorraine were driving late at night, and something off this truck was flying. And there was some sort of strange truck that passed them when they were on the way to the highway. Like, on the highway to Lorraine's house.
Right.
But apparently, like, Patrick still has scars on his hands. And that's all it says. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Oh, sorry, there's more.
Okay.
I just have to scroll down. Okay. So it says, on the way over to your house, we had met up in the parking lot, but had some strange experience on the highway where some suitcases on a truck in front of him came out from the car and attacked his car. The whole fender fell off on the top of his, like, from the top part of the car. Lorraine said, I didn't know that. Oh my God. And then Vera said, well, we were just so wowed by you, we just forgot that we had a harrowing experience on the way up. Because we were so excited about the Museum of the Occult.
I mean, fair fucking enough.
I would also just be like, leave this in the past. We're going to see the museum.
Yeah, Patrick's hand's bleeding. It's like, fine, shut up about it.
One of them like has like scars down their face. Anyways.
So there was actually like a couple of really weird things that happened on set that I think are interesting. So Joey King, who played Christine, she ended up covered in... You hate her?
I hate Joey King.
She's a child, but that's fine. Well, she's probably not anymore.
No, she's not. She was in The Kissing Booth.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's an awful Netflix movie. She was in Slender Man.
Oh, okay.
She was also in a movie called Wish Upon, which has a great Oh, no, it doesn't have a good premise. I fucking lied. It is a bad movie. Okay. Name a good Joey King movie other than The Conjuring.
Ramona and Beezus?
No.
I've never seen it.
I literally was about to put you on the deck and throw you over.
I've never seen it.
God.
So, okay, well then you'll love this story because she got covered in bruises after a couple of weeks of shooting, and they can't figure out how. Patrick Wilson was the one who told the story to a newspaper. All he said was she wasn't doing any stunts because kids don't, and nothing hit her, like nothing happened. They just kind of showed up. Yeah, and then Vera also had strange marks. So she said that over the course of filming, she was always waking up between 3 and 4 a.m.
I do that often.
Well, so here, I was just going to say, you know what? I don't know that that's uncommon. I wake up between 3 and 4, I would say 6 nights out of the week.
Because apparently, I've seen a lot of TikTok videos about this, but we're not supposed to sleep 8 hours a night.
Well, I don't, so... We're
supposed to sleep... People years and hundreds of years ago would sleep for 4 some hours, wake up for 2 hours, do a bunch of do work, and go back to sleep for another 4 hours.
That sounds amazing.
Like, I would fully do that, but I would have to go to bed at, 8 p.m., wake up till, 12 to 2, and then go back to bed so I can make it in time for work.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. That is kind of how my insomnia sometimes works, though. But it's not... I never feel productive. But also, that's just because my body is used to our way of living. Anyway, so she was waking up between 3 and 4, and when she first had a phone call with James Wan, because she was the one who was like, I want Patrick Wilson. So when they were having that phone call... This
was Vera?
Yeah. When they were having that phone call, she looked up, and she said... She described it as 3 digital claw marks across her laptop screen. So that was in the beginning stages. And then she woke up the morning after the last day of shooting, and she had 3 long bruises across her thigh that she said she could only describe as looking like long fingers.
No thanks.
No thanks. And during a visit to the set with the entire Perrin family, one of the children said to a screenwriter, I just feel it. Something really bad is going to happen here today. And then Carolyn fell and broke her hip. Isn't that wild?
No thank you.
No thank you.
Also, could you imagine going and fucking breaking your hip on a movie set?
I'd be so pissed.
I would be so mad, but guess what? Lawsuit money, baby.
Exactly.
Do you know I always forget who is in this movie that throws me off because Actually, no. They were only a year younger.
Renesmee? Yeah.
Like, what other movie was she in? I, like, pulled up her IMDb. She was in Interstellar. She was a young Murph.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I cry every time.
And she's probably, like, 16 now.
Yeah. What year was she born? Let me see. 2000. She's 21. Shut up.
My whole body just shut down. Renesmee, you heard it here first, folks. Renesmee is 21.
She turns 21 on November 10th.
Ugh, I hate it.
God, people who are born.
Period. That's it.
You're telling me she's turning 21? Yeah, I'm turning 26 this year. I don't know how you did 26.
26 was not bad for me.
I just have, like, that fear where I'm pushing it. Now I'm closer to 30 than I am to 20. You know, like, I'm still in that middle mark where I'm like...
You're good.
I'm doing good?
No.
I'm no Renesmee anymore.
No, you're not. I think that's kind of it for my notes, honestly.
I think I have one kind of story.
Okay.
Well, two, actually, and they involve some photos. So one thing that I actually really remember I want to say, well, in Chicago, they did it for sure. But also in... I want to say the Philippines or Thailand.
Southeast Asia.
Yes. So they put up warnings on poster boards. And I remember seeing this on Twitter.
I do too. I remember this so clearly.
And this is why I was scared that I was going to be possessed. Mm-hmm. So on the poster board, it said The Conjuring. And it had just the poster in the background. It said warning in giant red letters. And it says, the film you're about to see is psychologically and emotionally disturbing. People who have attended early screenings of this film have complained about many unusual circumstances that they have experienced after seeing the film. Due to our concern for your well-being, we have invited Father Perez to be here. He will be available after the film to provide spiritual support and/or conduct a personal blessing should you feel the need. Please do not hesitate to ask for help. Ask a representative where you can sign up for a session with our priest.
I gotta know.
Was it a marketing ploy?
Right.
Because that is one perfect
Genius.
Marketing ploy. I was terrified. This got me.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they going to have a priest here?
I am no longer a religious woman, but if I was in a scenario where someone was like, hey, you just watched this very scary shit, if I was in that mindset and someone was like, a priest will bless you on your way out, I'd be like, I can make a quick stop.
Yeah.
I'll make a quick stop. That's cool.
I can do it.
Yeah.
It's no problem. I can get a cross on my forehead. Yeah, I'll go home.
Throw some holy water on me.
Some holy water.
I might burn. It's okay.
Yeah, and you know what? It's better than being possessed.
Truth.
Great work for that team, whoever. But it's just weird that it was only in Chicago and Southeast Asia. The thing with social media is it went everywhere.
Yes.
So if it was a marketing play, it worked wonders from having in those two Chicago's not very random, but to have it in all of Southeast Asia.
That's what makes me think it's not a marketing gimmick as much as a choice that was made by someone somewhere.
I don't think that the Roman Catholic religion is very popular in Southeast Asia, to my knowledge.
I have no idea.
I actually have no idea.
I love to make sweeping statements about religion, though.
Yeah, me too. The other thing that I have is kind of the story about Bathsheba. Is that how you say her name? Bathsheba Sherman. So she was born Bathsheba Taylor in Rhode Island in 1812 and married Judson Sherman, who was 1 year older than her, in Thompson, Connecticut in March 10th, 1844. So there's this photo from the estate. So it's the Arnold Estate farmhouse from 1885, and that people think that she is in this photo.
Oh, okay.
But I think that this was also in Andrea's book. Apparently, they think that this woman is her.
I've seen this photo, yeah.
But so she's wearing a surgical mask, which is very interesting.
I didn't even notice that. I was looking at her dress because it's quite pretty.
I'll zoom in. Her face is covered.
Okay, that's terrifying.
But it's also because this was during the time where tuberculosis, the Spanish influenza, and...
We love TB.
We also love a global pandemic.
We really do.
Where they're wearing masks in 1885.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
History repeats.
The interesting thing that is weird about this woman, Bathsheba, I hate saying her name. It's a bunch of consonants and then a couple of vowels. That's most names.
But no, I struggle to say it too.
A neighboring farm in the 1800s had suspicion grow around her when an infant had mysteriously died in her care.
But it wasn't hers.
No. So when the baby was examined, it was determined that the mortal wound was caused by a large sewing needle that had been impaled at the base of the child's skull. Mm-hmm. Everybody then thought she was a witch and that this was an offering to the devil. But nothing really came of it. She kind of ended up living her life. I think her and her husband ended up dying in their, like, 60s, 70s. Like,
yeah.
Or whenever, like, you know...
Was normal then.
Yeah.
32.
Interesting. I don't think they actually did live that long because none of their children lived past the age of 7. Probably because of...
The vast illnesses.
Yeah. But she was 37 when she had her son, Herbert. So... They lived
a while.
But apparently there was no records that any of their children survived. But apparently one of them did. It just didn't make the census of that year. It was
records from that time I would not imagine are startlingly accurate.
No. But one thing that's interesting is that Andrea, who was the oldest of the sisters, said that there was, like, weird things where it looked like they would wake up with, like, needle marks. That was, like, one of the things where it looked like needles had punctured their skin.
Weird. I have a hard time believing that she was a witch.
Yeah, I don't believe she was a witch. Obviously, she was probably mentally ill due to the 3 major viruses that were wiping out the planet.
Or she just didn't do it at all. I mean, at that time, all of that shit was, like, hot cock?
Wow, okay.
All that shit was hot goss.
Yeah.
We loved a witch trial.
I love the witch trials.
Oh, me too. There's an ASMR video that's the Salem witch trials. It's just like a guy whispering about the Salem witch trials for a solid 4 hours.
I want that. Send it to me.
I will. That shit has been putting me out for about 4 years. I couldn't retain one fact because of my
Have
ass.
you listened to the full thing?
Oh, yeah, many times,
okay.
But I don't know a fucking thing. I mean, I do, but just not from that video.
The other thing that's still interesting is, I don't know if it's still, this is such a small, tiny photo. Her headstone is still...
I love an old-timey headstone. Wow.
Yeah.
So she's there.
Yeah. She is a person.
There was a doubt. People tried to say that she was not a real person when this movie came out.
She was a real person. Lived past the age of 40. There's a lot of things up in the air that we don't know.
A lot of questions.
And we're not going to answer them.
Nope.
Nor care to find out.
What was your favorite scene?
I think there was just, like, a lot of, like, one-off kind of, like, jump scares that I actually really enjoyed in this movie. One that I forgot happened was... There's a scene where Lorraine randomly is doing the parents' laundry for them.
Okay, that's so weird because I picked up on that. I was like, Ed's fixing their car and Lorraine's doing their laundry.
I'm like, they're not incapable of doing...
service?
I was like, they're not incapable of doing daily tasks.
No, they just showed up and said, we're going to exercise your house. Also, we're going to get shit in order. Fucking trading spaces. Here we go.
TLC, who?
Wife swap.
Wife, parent swap. So she's doing their laundry. But there's the one scene where she unclips the white hanging, drying
sheet.
I was like, what is that thing called? Anyways, she unclips the sheet, or the wind takes it, and it, like, is stopped by a figure. And it is, like, terrifying because it's like, ooh, spooky. But then the sheet flies up to the window, and then it, like, falls down from, like, the wind carrying it, and there's a person standing in the window. And I was like, well done.
Very good.
All the, like, visual effects in this movie, let's take that back a little. Not all the visual effects. A lot of them are really good.
I agree.
I think that the part where it's like they're trying to actually show like a scary face is when it falters. And we talked about that. But that was one of like my favorite scenes. Like thinking back, I was like, I really liked this. Also, any time with that stupid Jack in the Box.
Music box.
Terrifying. I just absolutely hate anything regarding that.
It had been long enough since I'd seen it that those kind of like repeat moments because they used the music box a couple times. They played hide and clap a couple times. I couldn't remember when things were going to happen. And so every time I was so tense. I was just like waiting for things to happen the whole time.
Also, never have I ever played hide and clap. Like,
no, I know.
It's called hide and seek. You don't have to wear a blindfold. They're already hiding.
One of my favorite things.
Don't say is playing hide and seek.
No, but this is a funny story. When I was a kid, I used to hang out with my cousins all the time. We were always together. And we would play hide and seek. And my cousin, Brittany, she's blind in one eye. And so we would play hide and seek, and she'd cover her seeing eye, and we'd play hide and seek. But the thing is, no one was fact-checking which eye she was blind in. So for years, she was just covering her blind eye and watching us hide. An innovative queen.
You know what? Really working the system.
Yeah,
she said...
She said, make this work for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
She said, they don't know my struggles.
Exactly. Can't wait.
She's listening.
I'm going to send that to her.
This just reminded me, I don't know if I've told this story, but my one friend Tegan, don't know if she's listening, she has had the scariest, like, all the scariest shit happen to her. Mm-hmm. But she was also playing hide and seek. She used to live north of where we live. Mm-hmm. And she used to live in this haunted house. So her and her friend were playing hide and seek one time. And her friend was the one who was counting. Her and another friend, I don't know any of their names, but they were the ones hiding. So she went into the bedroom, like the spare bedroom in the basement, where there was like a small window. Her other friend went and hid, I don't know where. But so she slid under the bed, and she was kind of like facing the wall to like hide and like squeeze herself in closer to the wall. She felt her friend come up like behind her, and like they were both hiding there. And she was like, oh no. You can see where this is going. She was like, you can't hide with me. And she, like, turned over, and nobody was there.
No.
And so she ran out from under the bed, and her friend was like, haha, found you. And she was like, where's the other person? And she was, like, hiding in the other room.
That's so not okay.
Right? But this is also the place where she found out later the, like, old husband died in his sleep in that basement where she was hiding. So, like, she thinks that it was the husband, like, playing a joke.
Well, it wasn't funny.
Yeah, we did not have fun, Roger.
Jokes are supposed to be funny, Roger, and that one wasn't. Oh,
she has
scary.
so many scary stories like that.
I would love if someone could just come on the pod and just tell us so many stories that we could just live react to.
I have like two friends, Tegan and Dre. Mm-hmm. Dre, her mom has so many scary stories of growing up on like the reserve and on the farm and like constantly like seeing... Briefly, her mom went to the bar once and this man in a black hat ordered everybody shots, like all of her friends shots, but she didn't take one, and all of her friends have died since then. She's the only one who hasn't. She has seen this like man in a black hat like standing in the middle of the field randomly.
I am shocked,
yeah,
verklempt, upset, and sweating.
Scary things.
That's so fucked.
Right? Like all of them are dead. I know.
What the hell is happening?
Spooky, spooky, spook, spook.
Spooky, ooky. So my favorite scene? No. I don't really have one.
Yeah, do you have one?
I actually really like the scene where Carolyn is playing hide and clap with the youngest kid, and she goes into the room and the hands reach out from the wardrobe and clap. Ugh. It's so good. But I just love the whole thing. The soundtrack is also so good. Mm-hmm.
Like the sound design in not the like music, but like the way that they use like the doors and like every little thing is so well done. And like I said, like the pacing of the movie, I was like at one point I was like, how far into this am I? And I was like, I have only half an hour left, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like there's some movies we've watched where like
drags.
It's just like there's no building momentum to be like this is getting somewhere. And this one, like, it didn't even matter. I was like, you could go nowhere and I wouldn't mind.
Feelings I had. I genuinely have no idea how I would handle it if one of my children thought we live somewhere that was haunted.
Yeah, no, like you said earlier, adoption.
Yeah, sorry, you have to go. I simply cannot do it.
Like, if it's attached to you, I don't need it attached to me because you're attached to me.
And it's just the production of the whole thing. Like I was saying earlier, when all the pictures fell off the wall, it was like, I just don't care. I don't care what the reason is. I have to clean that up now.
I know. Come on.
I don't have time.
And like also the fact that like all the floorboards are broken.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay for that?
Who is going to pay for that?
Not the demons.
They're not working. Living here rent free. Should we rate it?
Yes.
Scary. I'm gonna go with like an 8 for my original viewing.
Yeah. Right now, like rewatching it, I was like, I'm not scared because I know everything that has happened. Yeah. But watching it for the first time, it was like a good like 8 or 9. Like I was thoroughly spooked from head to toe. Butthole clenched.
Yeah. Unsettling. I don't think it really was. There are movies like Paranormal Activity that scared the shit out of me and put me in like this headspace where I was so scared afterwards. The Conjuring didn't really do that for me. Like it scared me, spooked me from head to toe, like you said, in that moment. But afterwards, I don't think it was something that I was like, I'll never sleep again.
Right. It didn't linger.
No.
I think it did for me because I had that mindset of like that poster going into it and it's going to like attach to me and that I'm the weak one of my friend group. So goodbye, everybody. Watching it again, I was like, this isn't gonna...
No.
It wasn't. So, 2?
3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Story. It's so good.
Like a 9.
For sure.
I don't think I could give it a 10. There is some parts where I was like... There are some people, I didn't mention this earlier, but we didn't need the cop.
The cop.
Exactly.
No, I simply don't remember who that is. Okay.
There was the cop who comes in. He takes the children to the motel at one point.
Yeah.
Like, don't need him. Also, we don't need the partner, Paranormal Activity guy. I don't need him.
No.
Like, there were some parts where I was like, this could easily be wiped out and the movie could still easily move along.
I agree. But also, all of the characters are very well developed.
Yeah, I agree. Even, like, the daughter and Lorraine's daughter.
Yeah.
Like, Judy is very well developed for her being on screen for
7 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say 5.
Yeah. Okay. Was it a paper cut?
Did we give that a rating? Yeah, we said 9.
Yep. Was it a paper cut or was it a bloody massacre?
It was Ed and Lorraine died too soon. I missed them. I want to say it's close to a bloody massacre.
Me too.
But it isn't that full. It is a full package, though, you know?
It is here. Okay. I think there's different types of horror, and The Conjuring is so beautifully cinematic that it isn't horrifying to my core, you know? So for me, it's like, shit. One too many dead Sadies. That dog. Tragic.
Oh my god, I forgot that happened in this one, and I was like, no. Do you know there's a website called doesthedogdie.com?
I did.
I learned about it recently.
I think you told me about it, maybe.
Like I said, nothing is retained in this noggin of mine past speaking. Once you click end on this,
done.
Everything I said for the past 2 hours almost has been wiped from me mind.
When I go to record this in 2 days, I will not recall what movie it is.
You mean edit?
What did I say?
Record.
Oh, yeah. No, when I go to edit this.
Anyways.
Okay. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We hope you're having a grand old time. I don't know.
Just in general.
Just in general with life.
Hope you're getting vaccinated if you can.
And getting good rest and staying hydrated. If you would like, follow us at Podcassacre on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also follow us on YouTube at The Bloody Podcassacre. Comment, like, and subscribe. You can leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts.
Before we leave.
Okay.
Should we? This is just a thing for the maybe we'll do in the future because it's in 2 months from now.
Okay.
Should we go watch The Conjuring 3 in theaters?
Yes, we should.
It's going to be interesting because when we do that, we have to like fully write down a synopsis.
Oh, fuck, we will because it will not be
gonna
available. Until next time.
Evil loves